This is Tamara from mooglyblog.com, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to crochet the Speckle Cloud Dishcloth Set, which is a free pattern you'll find on mooglyblog.com. Please go to the link in the description or go to your favorite search engine and simply type in Moogly Speckle Cloud Dishcloth Set, and the pattern should pop right up. To make this pattern set, I used a USH 5mm crochet hook. This one is by Furls. And also, to make both of the washcloths seen here, as you can see there's a large and a small, I was able to make both of those using just one skein of Universal Cotton Speckles, which is a medium, 4-weight, 100% cotton yarn. This happens to be the Popsicle 1003 colorway. I also recommend that you have a couple of stitch markers handy. Let's get started. First, let's take a quick look at our finished dishcloths. Again, here you can see there's two sizes. The large size here is about 10 inches by 10 inches, and the smaller size is about 7.5 by 7.5. Personally, I like different sizes when I'm in the kitchen, kind of like the select-a-size paper towel rolls, right? Now, one thing I included with both of these is a hanging loop. Sometimes people like to hang up their washcloths, and I wanted to include this. You can absolutely leave that loop off if you prefer, or you can make it longer just by adding more stitches. We use a really neat technique, and that, along with the stitches involved in the body of the washcloth, are what I will show you right now. So we start off with a slip knot on our hook, and then, depending on the size we're making, we'll need to chain different amounts. For the small, we chain 23. For the large, we chain 31. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret about this pattern. I added these chain amounts to make them sort of nice and square, as you see in the finished ones, but there isn't really a stitch multiple that you need for this pattern. So if you need to make this in a wildly different size, say you wanted just a little face scrubber or even a giant blanket, you could absolutely do that by adding more chains or less chains. For our little demo today, I think this looks like just about the right size. Once you've got all of those chains made, you're going to skip the chain closest to the hook and half double crochet in each remaining chain across. I prefer to work into the underneath hump. One of the features of this set of dishcloths is that there is no border worked around the outside. By working into the back or underneath hump, I should say, of the chain rather than under either of the top two loops, we create a really nice finished edge without the need for an additional border. So I'm going to skip the chain closest to my hook. I've got my yarn over already on. I'll go to the next chain and I'll make my half double crochet going right through that underneath hump. And there's one half double crochet, and I will simply half double crochet in each remaining chain across. So for row 1, we have a simple row of half double crochet. On row 2, we get to start some of our shaping. We chain 1, I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to work 2 half double crochets right into the first stitch. So there's 1 and 2. And because personally I love having little helpers, I'm going to go ahead and grab my stitch markers and put 1 right in the first of those stitches. That way I won't get confused at all, no matter what happens when I come back for the next row. Now I'm ready to half double crochet in each remaining stitch across until 1 stitch remains. So depending on what size you're making, you'll have more or less stitches to keep crocheting until you get to the last stitch of the row. When we do get to the last stitch of the row, I'm almost there here on my little swatch, we're going to work 2 half double crochets into that same stitch as well. For this cloth, we always want to keep it symmetrical. What we do to one end of the row, we'll do to the other. However, the body of each row in between those ends are half double crochet stitches. This gives us a really nice, dependable fabric for our dishcloth. So I have come to the end of the row here. I've got just 1 stitch left. So I'm going to put 2 half double crochets right in this last stitch. So there's 1 and 2. And now we've started our shaping and finished row 2. Now we're ready for row 3. And row 3 is simply a repeat of row 2. We chain 1 and start by working 2 half double crochets right in that first stitch. So I'll grab a second stitch marker and mark the first stitch of this row. There we go. And then I will make sure to put a second half double crochet in that same stitch. And then simply half double crochet across until I get to the last stitch of the row, where I will put another 2 half double crochets. So here you can see I have finished row 3, and I worked 2 half double crochets right into that last stitch. For row 4, we're simply going to chain 1 and half double crochet in each stitch across. This is also known as working even. So no increases or decreases here in row 4, just 1 half double crochet in each stitch of the row. And here I am finished with row 4. You can see we don't have any more increases. Now we're just working up, but now we're ready for row 5. And with row 5, we're going to have a decrease on each end. This helps us create that scalloped look that we get on our dishcloths. So we're going to start with a half double crochet 2 together. I've got my chain 1 for my turning chain, and I've already yarned over. What I'm going to do is insert my hook in the first stitch of the row, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Now, I'm going to, rather than yarning over again, go straight into the next stitch and yarn over and pull up a loop. This is a little different than other half double crochet 2 togethers you may have seen, but I think this gives a better finished result than the official, most logical version, if you will. We yarn over, there we go, and pull through all 4 loops, and we've got our half double crochet 2 together. This version, I think, is a lot less bulky than the standard version where you yarn over for both of those stitches, but you can try it both ways and see what works best for you. I'm going to put the stitch marker right in the top of that stitch since it's my first stitch of the row, and then we simply half double crochet all the way across until we have 2 stitches left at the end of the row, where we half double crochet 2 together again. So I'll meet you at the end of the row. As you can see, there are now just 2 stitches left in row 5. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the next stitch and pull up a loop, and then go right into the last stitch and pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through all 4 loops to finish my stitch. And now we're done with row 5. Now, row 6 is simply a repeat of row 5. So again, we start with our half double crochet 2 together. Yarn over, go into the first stitch and pull up a loop. Then go straight into the second stitch and pull a loop. Then yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. Then we half double crochet across until 2 stitches remain and half double crochet those 2 together, just like we did in the previous row. And now you can see I have finished row 6, and we've really created that scalloped look on both sides of our fabric. Row 7 is the last row of our repeat, and it's a simple worked even row. We chain 1 and half double crochet in each stitch across. Again, no increases or decreases in this row. All right, and here I have finished row 7. You can see I didn't even move up my stitch marker yet. Rows 2 through 7 are the repeat for this pattern. So row 2, we've got increase, row 3, increase, 4 is even, 5 is decrease, 6 is decrease, 7 is even. So we can look at our finished small dishcloth here to get a look how that works. We repeat those rows twice more for the small dishcloth, and 3 times more. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 for the larger dishcloth. So the last thing we need to do is at the end of the last row is add that loop. Again, this is an optional hanging loop, so if you don't want to add it, you can just finish off your last row, cut your yarn, and weave in your ends. However, if you'd like to add this loop, here's how I did it. So to make the hanging loop, at the end of the last row, I extended the row with 10 foundation single crochets. Again, you can make this loop longer by adding more stitches or shorter by reducing the number of stitches, whatever size of loop you need in your kitchen. So you can see I left the stitch marker in here from the previous row. I worked into the last stitch on row 7 here, my row 7, and now I've still got the stitch marker right there. That's going to help guide us for putting in our hanging loop and making our foundation single crochets. In order to extend our row with foundation single crochets, what we're going to do is we're going to take our hook and insert it right back in that same stitch, the same place we worked our last stitch of the row. We'll yarn over and pull up a loop. And I'm going to make sure to pull this loop up a little bit higher than I might otherwise. I want to take my time with it and make sure this loop is the same size as that loop. I'm going to push that stitch marker. Actually, I'll just go ahead and take it out of the way here so I don't have to fiddle with it anymore. It doesn't get in our way visually. Now, I'm going to yarn over and pull a loop up through just the first loop. And now that will be the chain at the bottom of our single crochet. So I yarn over and pull through 2 to finish our single crochet. So this is our first foundation single crochet. Let me do that one more time. I'm going to go back into the same space our last stitch was worked into, yarn over and pull up a loop. Pull up that loop nice and even. And at this point, I might even turn my work and start working this way. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. Then I'm going to continue this row To do that, I want to find the 2 loops at the bottom of the stitch I just made. So if we look, if I turn it over, you can see there's 2 loops right there. I want to insert my hook right above or below, depending on how you're orienting yourself, right above those 2 loops. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Make sure that loop's pulled up nice and high. Yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now we've got 2 made, and we can continue making stitches just like this. We find the 2 loops at the bottom of the stitch we just finished. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 1. Yarn over and pull through 2. Bottom of the previous stitch. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through 1. Yarn over and pull through 2. And that is how we make the foundation single crochets that give us the loop. So we keep adding these stitches. Let me find those 2 loops at the bottom of the previous stitch until we have the length of the loop that we want. All right, so as you can see here, I've made my 10 foundation single crochets. Now, what we're going to do, rather than using our hook to finish our project, we're going to use our yarn needle. So I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a good 6 inches or so to work with, and grab a yarn needle. Alrighty, so now I'm going to go ahead and just pull up on the loop that's on my hook. Set my hook aside somewhere where it won't roll away on me. There we go. And then I can put the yarn end on the yarn or tapestry needle. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this needle to sew this loop right into this space right here. So you can see here is our dishcloth. I'm just going to bring it right around here. So what I like to do is actually just go right into that bottom of that first stitch, sort of that space that started it all, and take a stitch right there. And I'll go back into the top of that last foundation single crochet. And then I will take another stitch, and I like to sort of sew the side of that last stitch to the bottom of that last foundation single crochet. And you can take a couple of stitches wherever it feels and looks good to you. But you can see that just about does it. From here, all I need to do is weave in my ends, and I have a finished Speckle Cloud dishcloth. And that's how to crochet the Speckle Cloud Dishcloth Set. Remember, this pattern comes in 2 sizes, so you'll want to refer to the written pattern for both. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.